Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Powerplay. This week we have a very special guest with us today, Sharran Raj.
Yeah. Hi guys, Sharran here, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Alright, very cool. So, Sharran Raj, right? So, could you give just a small introduction about yourself, like maybe your age, your playing experience, your managing experience? There's a reason as to why I called you to come on this podcast this week, because I think you have some insights that maybe the viewers and the audience would be interested in hearing.
Okay, so as already mentioned, my name is Sharran and I'm 28 years old this year. I've been honestly actively playing football since I was 6. I've had my own football team for nearly maybe 6 to 7 years now.
Okay.
And I also represented my university for football and futsal back then. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so you are more towards the football side rather than futsal.
Yes, as of 3 years ago when I started doing this far post with you, then I started learning more about futsal and all that but people would know me more towards the football side of things .
Okay, so for football, what were the competitions that you did join, and how was that experience like?
So as a player, as mentioned, the biggest competition I played in is the Liga IPT. We went all the way till Division 1 and we were the only private uni to reach that stage. And then I also created my own team. We played in a number of we played in Garden Social League, and then we tried Klang Valley League, and then the highest level we went was the Selangor Champions League where I mean you also played with us so you should know.
So the SCL, right? The Selangor Champions League.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. So for futsal, I think you played for Help University, right?
Yeah, I played in the university. I think it's called MAPKU University Games. That's about it.
Okay. Very cool. So yes, so Sharran Raj is a coach in Far Post Academy. He's also my partner in Far Post Academy, and I think very soon he'll be coaching even One United . So the reason as to why I called him this week is very simple. So last week we spoke about trusting the process, right? And a number of our viewers have asked me a lot of questions, and so I think the right person to, I guess, give a third person's point of view would be you, which is why I called you. Okay? So before we move on to the point of today, we'll just go revisit that point of trusting the process first. Okay? So the first thing is, I would like to get to know your 2 cents on trusting the process. If you agree with what I mentioned last week, if it's a yes or a no, and why.
Okay, so I'll take some time to explain my answer on this question.
No problem.
So I'll talk as a player point of view, if I'm a player and
yes.
I've gone through certain experiences before, even in futsal and football. So now how I look at it is, for instance, let's say if I'm not getting to play, normally this is when you question everything. So as a player, you should want to play. It's okay to be upset if you're not getting to play. I think it's more of a problem if you're not getting to play and you're happy about it. So let's say now I'm not getting to play, whether it's football or futsal.
Was that shots fired? Okay, sorry, carry on.
So let's say I go and talk to my coach or my manager and ask them why am I not getting to play. He gives me whatever explanation
Okay.
And if the explanation makes sense to me at least, then I could keep going. Meaning I will follow the process and be a good teammate I'm going to be there and whatnot. If there's training, then I'll train also Some of the teams I played for, most of the teams I played for, there was no training.
Okay.
It was just a social team. Yeah. But then sometimes comes where when you hear their explanation, it doesn't make sense. So for sometimes you won't even know the reason, but they just don't want you to play and the reason doesn't make sense. It's very rare. Okay. Sometimes it's team politics. This happens in social teams. Maybe the sponsor's kid is in your team, or the sponsor itself is in your position, so you can't do anything about it.
Okay. So are you speaking from experience?
I can maybe not the sponsors. That was just an example, but I have had experience where I think I should have played, but I didn't get to play and I chose to leave.
Okay.
So of course, when you leave, you can just leave properly I will just say leave, and then you go find your own team and whatnot. So I've even had a lot of friends in the futsal scene. I think where they have complained in the past few years that they don't get to play and this. And my solution have always been simple, but they look at me as if I'm telling them to do some commit a crime or something.
Okay.
So normally they always sulk, I go every training, I don't get to play. Or I go every game, I don't get to play. And then this guy is playing, that guy is playing. So normally what I'll do is I'll tell them okay, go and talk to your coach. Okay. They say, I talk already, but still the same thing. And I say, okay, then leave. Go and find another team. but that's where they are stuck. They look at it like,
why are they stuck?
I don't know. So the other thing is maybe they can't find another team. That's their luck lah. And then one is maybe they don't want to leave their friends and all that. But I think like, if you really consider the sport seriously, you should be willing to take that uncomfortable step of playing with people you don't know lah in the first place.
Okay, but before you go further on, right? So you mentioned just now there was a point about if you speak to the coach and it makes sense to you, right? Then there's a reason for you to stay and fight for your spot, right? But more often than not, sometimes as a player, what the coach says might not make sense to you. But are you supposed to know more than the coach, or is the coach you're supposed to just trust the coach? Because this is behind the whole idea of trusting the process, what? Because sometimes you believe you deserve to play, but the coach might think otherwise lah. Because he's thinking about the team. Because if you look at it from this point of view, no coach wants their team to lose. So if you were the best decision for the team, wouldn't the coach play you?
Correct. I mean, so that's the thing lah. So that's why I said there's no complete right or wrong answer. But this one's very situational. Let's say, actually, I personally believe the coach doesn't need to explain himself to begin with lah. More often than not.
Yeah.
Like the player want to leave. They want to stay.
Yes.
But let's say depends on the team also. Not every team is like professional team. Especially what we are dealing with is like it's not pro lah. So you're like aspiring to be good at a certain level. So as training, they pay a certain amount and whatnot. So like you said lah, the player you explain, but sometimes they don't get it because sometimes managers make decisions. Not everything is very objective. A lot of managers make decisions based on gut feeling. Like sometimes they ask you, why you bring on that player when he played so badly 3 weeks in a row? Why didn't you let me play? You still bring on the same player, and I've done the same thing in my own football team.
But that's part of being a coach, right? Sometimes it's gut feeling.
So gut feeling. So that's why I say gut feeling. Sometimes I mean the player must be smart also lah. So if I go like my example when I went and asked last time. It's not one time I don't play. I went and asked. It's like I waited a few weeks, like maybe 5-6 weeks. I'm not playing, or I'm not getting to play enough at my position or something. So I asked them why. So like I said, if the reason to me was, let's say like, oh, you're not that quick. So these opponents were very fast. So that's why we didn't let you play the next game. It sounds tactical or what? I can move with that lah. Okay. I can live with that. Sorry.
Yeah.
But like I said, sometimes you hear reasons like, oh no lah, you haven't been playing well. But then the guy inside is also let's say not playing well or like playing worse than you lah, and it's very obvious. Then the guy will think about it. So it's not just like on your end. I mean, for futsal, I don't know, it's very tactical and different. That guy could be not dribbling at all and passing. Maybe he doesn't look as glamorous as the guy on the bench, but he's doing a better job. Yeah, but sometimes the guy on the bench might be like, oh, I can dribble everyone, why are they getting to play? So this one, normally the manager, you only can tell one time lah. You can tell him, look, this is what I need for this game. You have to just be patient, wait for your chance. But if they don't want to listen, my option normally like tell them to leave lah. Because you can't do anything about it. But if you keep them in the team, then he's going to spoil all your 10 players or 15 players by like being a toxic presence lah on the bench and whatnot.
Okay. So this was from the player's perspective lah. So you gave like two options. Either you try to reason with the coach and find a solution, or leave to another team.
Correct. If I'm the coach, I won't even entertain lah. I'll be very honest. Like it's just my way or the highway lah. I haven't been a coach. I've been a manager before, but I was also a player, so it was a bit more complicated for me. I had to explain here and there because like my friends were paying and playing. But like I said lah, I wouldn't explain my decision to everybody all the time lah. If I really need to explain, the player was with me for 3 years and I've kicked him out, then maybe I'll respect my teammates and explain one time lah. But it shouldn't be explaining every decision. You won't have time to explain. In other words, I think if I'm a manager and there's another player like me, I don't think I can handle the player like me if I was a manager. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
So we are very different personalities, right, me and you, when it comes to, I would say, managing and coaching and maybe even playing lah, right? So it's safe to say that if you're in my shoes, there will be a lot of players who weren't in the team lah.
Yeah, they'll be out lah.
Okay, fair. Okay, yeah, but I mean it's still just perspective lah, right? You know, so what I'm trying to bring about is basically I'm trying to understand different perspective when it comes to trusting the process lah, right? Because not like you said, everyone has a different opinion. So yes, you are clearly a lot more objective when it comes to these things, and it's very clear in your mind there is a line and you cross or don't cross. pretty much.
Yeah lah. It should be like that lah.
Okay.
I mean, that's how I feel lah.
Yeah, of course, but it's a lot easier to have this line when it's a professional team lah.
And depends lah, because I never had a professional team also. I had something similar to what we have now, football team, but they just need to understand what is the team's like vision at the start lah. Like, I mean, no need to be so formal about it, but like for my team, I never called it vision or what. But like my team, whatever, we were not professional. We had what, like I said, like could be the Garden League or Klang Valley.
To win
but
at all
everyone
costs.
that came is not to say at all costs, but it was to win lah. Like
Okay.
so they know. That means I've made it clear to the people that like your commitment. Yes, we value your commitment, but sometimes even if you're so committed, the other guy might play because I just want to win. In that point. So if you come all the time and you're better than the guy that has not been committing, then of course you're entitled to switch.
But then it comes down to a lot of stuff. Like for example,
Subjective lah.
yeah, because yes, it is subjective. But the other part of it is this is the development of players. So clearly, like so for my example, right? If we are in a club that functions with training and all of this, if they are here to look for development, and we are in the, I would say, the business of developing players. Right, so we need to see them grow. So it's not as clear cut. Players will go through frustration, and it's not as easy as to get out of the team, because they need to grow, they need to learn. It's a process lah, which is what I meant lah. But how much you're willing to tolerate is different.
Yeah, I mean, like this one, I thought we were just talking about the leagues and tournaments.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We're talking about the players can be allowed to train and all lah. But normally, more often than not, if when they are unhappy, they will leave lah. Nothing the manager can do. I'm not going to tell them like, oh, because you're not good enough to play here, get out from the training. Not like that. They should be allowed.
So
to
this
train.
is specific to more often than not like leagues and I would say games that matter lah.
Normally that's when they want to play lah. I mean training. I believe training everyone should get to play.
Fair.
Like if not, like if I went to a training and I don't get to play, I think I'll be unhappy with it. Or if like it's a friendly game for football or futsal.
Yeah.
Because if for normally your friendlies the result don't matter more often than not, everybody should be getting like an equal chance. League game I can accept lah. If sometimes you don't get to play because the result kind of matters. That kind of thing.
Okay, so for example, if like if I were to let's say have a league game, or no, sorry, not a league game, friendly, right? But in that friendly, I wanted to test a few tactical plays within it, and let's say you are a player that is, let's say I would say I want to use in certain situations only lah, right? But that situation didn't arise in the friendly, and I don't use you for the friendly. What would your thought process be?
After the game, I'll ask you, and if this was your answer, I'll take it lah.
Okay, fair.
I mean, honest lah. That's what it will definitely. I'll have to ask lah because it's a friendly and
but
that kind of thing lah. So if the answer was this, like, oh, my bad, that situation didn't arise, I can accept it lah. Yeah. But if that is the norm lah, I don't know if is it normal for friendly.
It's okay. I mean, like you said, there's no complete right or complete wrong. It comes down to a bit of player management also lah. You must understand your players, understand their expectations.
I believe the friendly should, I mean normally you call 12 or 13 players, should try to let everybody play lah. Like maybe some might play less, some might play more, depends on the situation, because any position also, when you start the half, you can choose to start how you want to start. So if you know you only got one player who can play that particular tactical, but you already brought him, it means you plan to
use him
to play him. Then you can at least use him for the start of the second half or whatever lah.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, so it's safe to say lah, right, that you believe in trusting the process, but there are certain criteria which you believe should be met lah.
Within the team lah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Was there any underlying message to that?
No.
No, I'm just asking. Okay, so now that we've gotten to the 2 cents on trusting the process, we move on into today's topic lah, right? Which is kind of an add-on to last week's topic, which is knowing your role. So this goes hand in hand with trusting the process lah, right? So I'll just give you an example, right? So knowing your role in a futsal team, I think is a bit different compared to football lah, right? So in futsal, it's a 5v5 game, but in a futsal team, there is 14 players on match day and 25 players in your squad. Okay, this is of course the professional scene lah. So for example, if we were to bring it to the amateur scene, you probably have
14 players lah.
there are 12 to 14 players still lah, right? So on game day, and it's not stop clock anyway. So on game day, if the match is tight, right, it might end up being you only use 8 players. To be fair, there is 2 or 3 games which I've seen MPFL this season that they've only rotated 2 sets, which means 8 players, which means 6 players are on the bench. Okay, so I'm saying all of this because
it happens
even in the pro scene lah, right? If you want to know which team, you can PM me. But I'm sure you know nobody wants to be on the bench.
Yeah.
Right? If you are in nobody. If you are in a team, if you are training, of course you want to play, of course you want to start. Every player should want to start. Right? That's how sports should be viewed as lah. Right? But in futsal, it is viewed as the best 5 starts. But I think that it's not. Right?
Futsal, yeah.
It's a very tactical decision that can be made by the coach. Right? But a lot of players have this mentality of like, oh, if I didn't start means the coach doesn't appreciate me, I'm not good enough, or why did he not start me, all these kind of things lah, right? So it could be a tactical decision, but do you have any thoughts on the matter of like the squad depth first of all, and how should players react to being on the bench?
Like I said, I also play futsal now for a few years already. I've never looked at it as I must start or anything. I look at it as the same whether you start outside or start inside. I just, like for me personally, I just want a certain amount of game time and I'm happy with that lah. And I feel players should look at it that way because that's the big difference with football and futsal. Futsal is what they call it, I mean like you can sub in and sub out as you wish, right?
Rolling subs.
Rolling subs, sorry, yeah. My bad. Futsal is rolling subs. Football normally is not when you play. So like I said back then, especially if like IPT and all, for me, I'm going out of my way to be in the first 11. Not making the first 11 will be a big thing for me. Because I know most likely you're not going to play, especially if you're a centre back or defender, they're not going to just simply sub you in to let you play. But futsal is normally not like that. Okay. Although you did mention there are some teams that don't use 5 players or 6 players, but they technically can just sub in someone, sub out someone 2 minutes, sub in someone, sub out someone. So your chances of playing is very high lah, if you had a futsal league game or whatever. Yeah. So like I said, at the start, if I'm not playing, it's okay. If I don't play the whole game, we already had that conversation. Yeah, definitely I want to know why I didn't play. Right? Okay. Yeah. But not. Sometimes it also depends because like if your team is that good and one player isn't that good, then he should already know lah. Don't need to come and ask you and make it difficult.
But a lot of players don't know that they're not good enough.
That one you must tell them lah. That one you must tell them lah. But I'm saying it's like a close call. Sometimes it's a very close call as to why that player didn't play and why this player didn't play.
Yeah, fair.
Then they want to ask, you can, I mean, the manager can choose to answer or not answer lah. It's up to the manager lah. Some people choose to like, no, I'm not going to tell you, and they have to deal with it lah. Okay. That kind of thing. But I wouldn't be too upset not starting. It's stupid to think that you have to be in the first 5 because like I say, it's quite tactical lah. Like you could have your holding set, your pressing set. So doesn't mean if the holding set play first, the pressing set become bad players. All those.
Yeah, correct. I mean, it's irrelevant lah.
Yeah. That part is irrelevant lah.
Okay. Good to know. So, besides that, okay. So, for example, when I say knowing your role, right? So there are some players also which I look at as maybe utility players, right? There are some players who are utility, means they can be used at any time with any player, with any set at any given time. Okay. There are some who are like this, right? These are players easy lah to put in the squad. Okay. But there are also some players who are incredibly talented, but in certain situations, like 1v1s. Okay. Right? So let's say you had a very, very talented player, 1 versus 1. That means if you were to put him in, his raw ability is his beating, but at the same time, he takes a lot of risk. Okay? So when you play this player, you might score, but at the same time you might concede because risk comes with all of that, right? Yeah.
Go both ways.
Yeah, exactly. So if the player, a player of such caliber lah, one-on-one caliber, right? Because this is a criteria that a lot of coaches look at. The ability to be one-on-one is one of the biggest factors that coaches look at lah. So if that player, of course, he's going to believe that he's probably the best in the team, because if you were to view a futsal player, you can be honest. If you view a futsal player, if you look at him in his one-on-one ability, you'll be like, yeah, that fella is damn good. Right? So if you are saying that, which means everyone in the team is saying that, which means he probably thinks it also lah. Right? And if you don't start him or don't play him, because there are certain situations whereby, for example, we are in a 1-0 lead and there's 2 minutes to go.
Okay, 1-0 lead, there's 2 minutes to go.
Right?
Now what would you want? You won't play him lah.
Of course, I won't play him lah. Right? But that player believes they should be in the court. Because
you tell him lah.
No lah, but these are the things that I think you will also eventually have to deal with. Especially if you are not managing pro teams lah. Like I said, pro teams is out of the picture.
No, these teams are.
So
okay, sorry, go on.
yeah, so if a player like that is let's say complaining about not getting game time, would you just be like, okay, no, get out of the team?
No, I won't straight say get out lah. Normally they will want, if they get angry, they can leave. But like, no, I'll just tell them why they didn't play lah. Like I'll say, like for instance, this guy is a 1v1 player. So I'll just say like this game he didn't need a 1v1 player. Like, and it's that player's fault to be. I always believe like, especially futsal, I so experienced it for a while. So obviously when the next time I come back, I don't want to go through the same thing. It's like you don't want to be a player like only certain conditions you can play. So you try to pick up everything. Like if now I'm target man, yes, I know play a target man role, but I also want to be able to play if something different is going on. Like especially futsal, like something like let's say you play 4-0 or something. I want to be able to do something in that position. So it won't be like, the opponents are like that. We cannot use target man today, then I'm just going to be on the bench. Like that. So like even when defending, like sometimes the opponent will power play.
Yeah.
And then when now it's a thing what?
Defensive
Power play, these 5 players must play, these 4 players must play. So if you're not one of those 4 players, and let's say you're winning 3-0 at halftime, the opponent starts power playing at halftime, then you're gone for the entire half. So I believe as a player, you should use your training to work towards all these other stuff also lah. So that you got more reasons to play. Like even football, they always say like, if you could play right back and left back, it improves your chances of playing. If you're just a right back, if you're a very good right back at the best, no problem lah. But sometimes you're a fringe player.
Yeah.
But you get more game time because he can throw you in DM, maybe left back, maybe centre back.
Okay.
So same for futsal lah. So this guy would have known that he's only a 1v1 player. He never did anything about it. He could have always learned how to pass and play with everybody, but he chose not to. Right? He wanted to be that player only. And he has to take, like there will be times where he will come in and score the winning goal.
So
he'll be happy.
I don't think he's only a 1v1 player.
I mean that's his trait that he's known for lah.
Yeah, that's his probably most highly valued trait lah. Right? So for example, I give you an example. So if his 1v1 is let's say a 9 out of 10, maybe his passing is a 6 or 7. It's not bad.
If the other fellas are all 8, then you won't want to play him lah.
Yeah, but then the difference is marginal. But the only difference is the risk that the player takes.
Yeah lah, he likes let's say dribble from the back.
So even if his teammates were to ask, right, they would also think that actually he does belong in the squad because he's of that caliber. But what they fail to understand is it takes one mistake.
I feel like I mean more often than not, normally the other players will understand why the manager also did what he did. But let's say in your case, I don't know, let's say lah, every player also feels like that guy should have played. I mean this person that is so good at 1v1 should have played. That means you are on your own here, not playing that guy.
Yeah. I mean it didn't really happen to me, but I'm just putting out a scenario lah.
Yeah, but at the end it's your decision lah. Again, because like I said before, this should be a given in any team lah. Before you start playing the league or what, like I don't know, but that's coaching. But when you bring them to league, every player should understand that they are going there playing the competition, trusting if you are the coach or the manager, your judgment. Meaning, if you are wrong or you are right, they agreed to go with it. When I had my own football team also, I made about 100 over decisions. Of course, not all was correct, but I just stuck by it, and I expect them to stick by it.
Okay.
So normally out of 20 there will be 1 or 2 that will go against you lah. That's why I said you must like remove lah, because you can't do anything about it.
Sharran calls it obs chantas, but okay.
Yeah, because if you don't remove, then what will happen is these fellows will slowly influence the other fellows who are like, let's say you are the manager, like no, whatever Jeremy says right, but then you'll have one guy on the bench like, hey, you see that, see this, see that, and then the guy listen, and then next thing you know, this guy doesn't play, and then he spreads, and then you're going to have a massive problem in your team lah. So you might as well just get rid of the cancer at the start lah. Like this kind of problem.
I mean, okay lah. This is maybe where we differ a bit lah. I think to use it as cancer is a bit extreme.
No, cancer means not to them personally. I'm just saying your team dynamic. Let's say now your team accepts what's happening. They are happy with your decisions. Whether you all win or lose, they are okay. They are like, okay, lose, we go and train harder.
Yeah.
Win, we are happy. Coach did the right thing. But then got one guy only not happy out of 15 players.
Yeah.
Right? So you try talking to the one guy, but it's not working. And then you know he's reacting. Let's say in game, normally body language is a big thing. Sometimes you see his body language, people are warming up, this guy might be walking, and you can, let's say you can even hear, or your assistant here and like tell you, like he's telling players, why I want to warm up lah, I know I'm not going to play later, stupid team lah, why do I want to, like this kind of things that's happening. You don't want that vibe to be like that, because at the end the teammates will care about one another, so people will care about him. So it's your job as the manager to remove this problem lah from the team, because if not, I feel bad for your other 14 players, but they are coming so excited to play the game, and there are other players on the bench who are not complaining, but there's just this one guy. So like I say, if this one guy was actually a superstar and you lost him, he go to another team and play very well, good for him lah. I mean, he maybe proved you wrong, that's good for him lah, that one is fine lah. But like keeping him there doesn't help you or him lah normally, that's what I feel lah.
Yeah, but there are also ways you can help manage the player lah.
Yeah lah, if you, like I said lah, if you speak to the player and there is something lah, like he is ready to, like, okay, at the end he must listen at the start. Like he must be like, oh okay lah, I will try to work on it. Okay, I'll try to understand. But if everything you say he's not even listening, then there's no reason for you to continue giving him another chance, because he's clearly going to like jeopardize your team's chances in the league or like whatever lah, or like the peace in your team lah, let's say.
Yeah. So okay, I mean it's all very good information, I believe. You can sip your coffee. What I want to get into is pretty much on the aspect of skills. So we spoke about trusting the process, we spoke about knowing your role. So overall, I think that we are kind of on the same page, but maybe the methods of execution is a bit different lah, right? But what I want to know is that, are there any other things that you believe that coaches or players, based on their own perspective, should be doing in their own roles to help curb this issue?
What the issue is?
To help players, as a coach, to help players understand, as a player to help the coach understand.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I don't know if I said this earlier, but for players, regarding the coaches, I mean, if you always get to play, normally it's not an issue lah, but let's say you don't. So, I mean, some players who play also can have problem with the coaches. I've had issues with my previous coaches, even though I was playing, because I didn't believe what they were doing, like maybe something like say tactics or something. I didn't believe in it. I've tried to speak.
You care to elaborate, or?
No, I mean, I got to speak to them about it, and then we went back and thought it was a problem lah. So my point is like, very important as a player for you to know, like, you trust your manager lah. Like you should be playing for your manager, other than yourself and your team and everything. It's very important to have the player and the manager should have that relationship. I feel lah.
Yes.
Every player. Once that's missing, let's say as a player, I feel I'm there just to like, I don't know, prove the guy wrong or show I'm better. More often than not, it doesn't work out like long term lah.
Okay,
like
so communication lah first.
Communication, and like I said lah, the player needs to decide for himself lah. Like, don't need to sulk, no need to make a big problem. Go and tell 10 friends, and sometimes more often than not, they go and talk to other people about it, and they can't fix the problem lah. Only the coach can fix the problem, but everyone but the coach will know the problem. Sometimes that's also an issue. So I feel the player should just, like, at the start itself, not say at the start, when he has the problem, he should review it lah.
Okay.
Look, do I want to just improve, or no, this guy, even if I play like Ronaldo, won't let me play, I want to leave. You can conclude that also.
I could say that you would say the first step is to basically be self-aware.
Yeah lah.
Then the second thing is communication.
And then in terms of the coach, same thing lah. So like for the coach, if there are any problematic players, sometimes the coach will always feel like, ayo, this guy got everything, it's just this one thing missing, or normally let's say his attitude, or something. So I want to help him. Pandai lah, you must find a way to help this person while keeping your team's interest intact for the league. Like, you don't want to like all out go and help him, and then let's say your team should have won first place, but because of this guy, you all didn't win a few games or something like that. So it's a fine balance, how much of risk you want to take for that guy. But it's very important for the coach or the manager to be the most powerful person in the team Like it's like that one is non-negotiable because if you don't have that normally, one is the manager will ask himself like, why am I doing this? If I got all the responsibilities but I don't have power, no point doing something.
Okay.
And players will like normally there's this term like a manager lost the dressing room. It's a professional but here it's not professional.
It happens.
But that happens in amateur team and all this.
The time,
and most of the time this happens because a manager put a rule or did something. He implemented a few rules to this player, but then suddenly their superstar did the same mistake. But they didn't take that option of like, no, you are out also. So once they show the play, they don't really have a stand. More often than not, they all come and step on the coach. I mean, this is just my opinion. I know your question was very like specific, but I'm just trying to answer like I just genuinely feel the coach must be a very strong personality. Manager actually, I'm talking about managing a team. Coaching is coaching but when you want to manage a team, I think it should
I think what you're saying is true, but I think this also only applies if all the players have the same head in the sense of like how much they really want to win and how much the team really means to them. Because some people, not in the professional scene of course, view this as just like, oh, when I'm free I come, hobby. So if you're like, this goes back to what you said about vision If the team's vision is not the same as the coach, then there's no harmony essentially.
It's the coach's responsibility or manager or whoever in charge to bring people in that to bring people that are aligned with the coach's vision.
Okay.
Not the other way around, meaning like the players won't figure it out and change. So if you got 10 fellas with your vision and the 11th fella that you come in, sometimes you won't know, you just bring, you have to try. And then you find out, this guy is playful, he's laughing, playing, but I want to pursue this further or join a bigger competition and whatnot. Then you just have to tell that guy, like I said, have that conversation. If it doesn't work, he's out But it's not just about taking people out, it's just about having people within the same vision like that Same for a player. If I'm a serious player now, I see, let's say one United, one is playing, I come and my head is like, I want to train and win the next competition. We train, but then next thing I know, when you make team for the next tournament, you are like, this competition, we don't win also now, mind, it's just for fun, we just want to go in and play. Then I have to ask myself, do I want to continue in this team or do I want to go to a team that might actually win? Same for the manager Do I want a serious player or do I want a player that win also same thing, lose also same thing, don't care.
Okay. So this is between player and manager, and I mean player. For futsal I guess the manager is also the coach sometimes, especially in the amateur scene right? So for this, just to sum it up, as with that relationship, the biggest person should be the coach Should be Okay. Okay So does this apply to you as a player also?
Well, I don't understand.
If you are a player. So if you were a player.
So yes, like I said, I've had a problem with a manager before. But it will be a weird situation because it's also my team. And then as a manager, I tried to give him all the power, but he either abused it or didn't know how to use it. Either way, I didn't want to find out. And then I got rid of him and then the guy came in. But then the thing is like,
so if I'm not in the team, he got rid of me
No, not like that. But like it's like, but normally, like I said I genuinely believe if I'm a manager also, like that, these situations that happen, like the manager, let's say they have to leave or they lose, I always feel it's the manager's fault, not the player's fault. Because if the manager knows what he's doing, it's impossible to lose everyone. You can lose one, you can lose two, but to lose 20 people or like 15 futsal players, it's impossible. Because normally what should happen is when one guy is a problem or two guys, you will have your captain or your other players to come to the guy and like, hey, what are you doing? Come back. But once you don't have that, means the whole, like there's no foundation in the team so it's good to like
so I mean
again.
So this one I think I can maybe relate to a certain extent, because when you're managing / coaching on the amateur side, of course not everyone is here to become, let's say, MPFL players right? So they will never look at it as like, oh, this is everything that I wanted. So different players come in at different levels of commitment. and expectation of what they are supposed to be doing on their own and what they expect in the game. So this part I think is a bit harder to just be like there's a clear line. Either you're in this or you're not.
For like One United lah.
Yeah, and some other teams that I've also coached. Yeah, so this one I think maybe like you said, no complete right, no complete wrong answer. But once it gets to the point where I can give you a definite answer, then maybe it's a different conversation lah. But
it's difficult lah. I mean, I don't think it's easy to do this kind of stuff. But the players also must understand. Like, this is my opinion. I've never been a professional futsal player, so I don't know how hard they work for it. But what I can say, let's say how hard is it lah. Let's say if you measure the difficulty lah. Let's say becoming an MPFL player is like a 10 out of 10 difficulty, because it is hard lah. Not everybody can become one. But these players must understand, if like they are part of your team or anything, to achieve an individual goal is difficult. But let's say to convince 15 people to follow one guy's vision and win the league together or win any competition together is actually, for me, way harder than achieving an individual goal lah. So if like that is 10 out of 10 difficulty, I think to win, as let's say One United have all these players and you have, let's say, 1 or 2 MPFL players and other players who are good but not MPFL, to make them come like play as a unit and win the competition, that's like way harder lah. In my opinion lah, I could be wrong, but that's just what I think. So like people must understand lah, playing as a team is not as easy as it looks. Like normally there are a lot more problems other than tactics to begin with. Yeah.
I mean tactics is like probably the smallest issue lah.
And then for the coach also it's difficult lah, because he's managing so many different egos, right? A lot of different things. So I mean that's the thing lah. So it's like really, it's just how much they want to win lah. Can they put everything aside to not win? I mean to be successful as a team, as friends and whatnot. If you say social, more often than not, they're all friends. And they cannot expect the manager only to go and call make the players train properly or make every player attend every training. Sometimes teammates can do the job for the coach also. Then the coach's life become easier. If you got a leader in the team and whatnot, normally they will handle all these kind of things.
So I think that was some good information. So this part, I guess, would you have anything else to add on? Not so much lah. Okay, so we basically spoke about, of course, we've started with trusting the process, which I think we are both on the same page, and then we went into knowing your role. So essentially what players need to understand is that they need to first communicate, be self-aware, and if it's not for you, then leave. That's the 3-step lah. So is it Sharran's?
Sorry, what's the 3 steps again?
Okay, so
sorry, my bad.
Okay, so the 3 steps would be,
for the player,
first is be self-aware, then the second is to communicate, and the third thing is if it doesn't work, leave.
I mean, but there could be people that will look at them and think they are quitters and whatnot. That's too bad lah. You have to deal with it lah. Like for me, that works. That has worked for me for God knows how long lah. So I'm sticking with that lah.
Okay, very cool. Okay, so yes, I think it's quite a bit of information that people need to digest, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of feedback from a lot of people. But I think overall it was very good hearing from you. Maybe some of the stuff I've heard before, but we will let the viewers decide if they want to ask you any other questions, and maybe we can have you back for a live Q&A if they were to want to ask you questions on their own. Then you can answer them face to face. Can be quite interesting, right?
Can I guess.
No problem. Okay. Yes. So if you guys want to see Sharran Raj again, you just drop us a like or comment, right? And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for anything and everything futsal.
Bye, Sharran.
Bye.